Welcome to Rise and Grind Radio 3.0.
You are now about to witness
With your host, Scotty the Body.
Come down later for good
Serving up
news.
truth bombs, hard facts, and real life grit. It's time to wake up.
Good evening.
Let's grind.
Here we go again.
No, you gonna dig this.
Welcome back to another episode of Rise and Grind Radio 3.0. I'm your host, Scott of the Body, and today we're going straight into the fire together. Today we're going to talk about the heart stuff. Yeah. What does that mean, Scotty? The rocks between your ears. No, I'm kidding. The hard stuff I'm referring to are the hard conversations that nobody really likes having, right? You're put in a position, and obviously you'll have a difference of opinion, or the parties' standards don't meet each other's standards, and it causes disruption, or my favorite option. You grow up in an Italian household, and everyone just sleeps under everything under the fucking rug and pretends everything's okay. Not that I'm speaking from any personal experience, but here we go. Now, don't confuse me here. I'm not talking about gossip or petty vent sessions, because this isn't high school, right? We're older now. I'm talking about the tough conversations that could free you, like free your mind and free your heart and help heal you. The conversations that could break cycles that, you may not think that's something that you could ever do, because it's just not something that your family has ever been taught, right? Old habits die hard, and old traditions do the same. But if you don't let yourself think about them, then there's never ever room for any growth. You're going to be stagnant. You're going to stay at that 2D mentality and live forever as a fucking Neanderthal, right? Because the Neanderthal was born without the prefrontal lobe, right? And that prefrontal lobe gives you that chance of opportunity and foresight, but if we don't exhume ourselves from that Neanderthal stage, well, then there's no real potential for any growth. I know we go through cycles throughout our lives, but I feel like you're constantly learning, even learning about yourself. If you think you got yourself figured out, I tell you what, you better be making billions of dollars and helping the fucking world out. So back to the hard conversations. Your opposition isn't just an enemy at that point in time. It's a reflection, right? Whatever you have a problem with is usually a problem with yourself. Today we're going to rip that Band-Aid off and face it. So why we avoid tough conversations? Let's start off with the truth. People avoid them because it's safer to avoid them. Safer in the short term. Think about your own life. Maybe there's a parent that you haven't spoken to in years because of one fucking blow up, and you've written each other both off, but neither of you mean it. Neither of you mean it, and you still love each other at the end of the day because you're family. Maybe it's the boss that you've never confronted because, you avoid conflict. Here's the reality. Those conversations are still alive. They're like unpaid bills stacked on the counter, Every time you walk past them, you pretend they're not there. Or, that pile of laundry that just keeps piling up you don't want to fucking fold and put away. You pretend they're not there, but your spirit feels it. It's like that gym membership you're paying for but never using, You know it, you see it, you never want to face it. But when you refuse to have those conversations, you refuse to grow. Let me give you a personal story. I don't know how personal I want to get here. I've experienced, even for myself, lack of growth, emotionally, mentally, even physically, because of not having those hard conversations. My family, huge into holding grudges until they die, right? But that's a generational thing. It's a generational curse that I have to overcome. I don't have to let that be my life, right? You don't have to let that be your life. You can talk to whoever you want to. You can live your life as long as you're not killing anyone or stealing from anyone and you're still living virtuously and with intent. Well, then there should be no problem. And if someone has a problem with the way you're living, well, then they're probably the fucking problem. You know, and people, a lot of people, they wait, right? They're waiting for the other party to say something initially or to initiate some sort of engagement. I'll tell you what, 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10, it won't fucking happen. Why? Well, because it's easier to hate. Instinctually, it's easier to hate. It's actually easier to hate emotionally than it is to love. It takes way more energy to love someone than it does to hate. This is a scientific fact. So maybe we can acknowledge that, be mindful of it, you know, and move forward in our actions, and hopefully not just relying on time to heal wounds, right? We branch off and hopefully maybe one day, you know, it'll heal itself. But you gotta have those tough conversations. You know, a lot of us have a lot of underlying trauma that needs to be addressed. Whether it's, you know, menial or monumental, I'll tell you what, folks, none of it's menial, and a lot of it's not monumental. When you finally get through it, you're like, wow, I can't believe that little thing brought me, you know, miles in a place that I thought I would never be. So, you know, maybe you got to ask yourself, what conversation are you still running from? Or what life are you running from, right? What potential are you stifling yourself from actually attaining? Think about that. Think about the things that you're afraid to say out loud because they're going to offend someone. Well, then maybe take a step back and articulate it properly and come in from a different point of view and different perspective and address it that way. And if the person still feels like it's an offense, well, then maybe they have a guilty conscience. And if not, well, then maybe one of two things. You're not doing it the right way, or you should just wipe your hands and say, fuck it. You know? But you got to have them first. You got to have the tough conversations to say that you at least made the attempt. Not that you tried, you made the attempt. Trying is having the intent to fail, right? I'll say it again. Trying is having the intent to fail. In order for you to succeed, you must visualize the win. You must visualize success. You must visualize positive outcomes. Let's talk about the reflection and the opposition. So this is the part that nobody wants to hear. That opposition, that person that you fucking hate, or you have a difference of opinion with, you hate somebody, that hate, that same hate is alive in you. You fear somebody, same thing. That fear is alive in you. You're confused about the way or about the why they move the way they do. That's because you're confused about why you move the way you do. me break it down for you one more time. We don't react to what people are, right? We react to what people reflect back to us, as if they're just a mirror of yourself. I'm not saying if I look in a fucking mirror, I'm going to see, if I look at someone, I'm going to see, I'm not a 6'7" Asian man who's been working on a farm for 40 years. Obviously, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to, ideals, right? Or standards. You will find more similarities than you will find differences, but a lot of people like to hone in on the few differences and make something of it because they have nothing else to hold on to. Here's an example. You meet someone who's bold, loud, unapologetic, and you get triggered. Why? Because deep down, you wish that you had the fucking courage to be unapologetic yourself. Where's the lie? Or let's flip it. You meet somebody who's weak, indecisive, and always leaning on others. Oh, and I tell you, that pisses you off because somewhere inside, you're still afraid of the weak parts of yourself. This is why tough conversations are spiritual mirrors. They show you a part of you that you've refused to deal with. Some of us go to therapy. Some of us have life coaches. Some of us just address the problem at its inception. But a lot of us have a problem seeing through it all, right? And just taking everything at surface value and not following through with it. So let's get over that fear, right? That fear of the outcome. Or the apathy of the circumstance. Let's make a clear distinction. Fear and apathy are not the same thing, right? Fear says, I care so much, I don't want to screw this up. Apathy says, I don't give a damn, I'm fine letting things rot. Fear can be fuel. A weird, unhealthy fuel, but fear says you value it. Fear means there's weight, there's importance, there's love under pain. But apathy is a slow grave. If you don't care enough to even try or speak or even step in the ring, well, then, like I said, you are the problem. Let me call it straight. Apathy is killing families. It's also killing communities. Apathy is killing nations one by one. Because when people stop caring, they stop confronting. And when they stop confronting, that infection spreads into a virus. And, well, we all know where that leads. It's a very slow death, slow grave. So if you're listening and thinking, this ain't about me, I just don't care, well, check yourself. That mindset is a luxury we can't afford. You should care. I care. And if I fucking care, and the amounts of shit that I've been through, family, I think it's time for you to care too. So let's light that fire, yeah? What's the next move? How do you actually step into those tough conversations? First, stop waiting for the perfect words. Perfection is procrastination in disguise. Just fucking do it. Just do it. Second, lead with honesty. Not polished, not pretty, just honest. The sentence, I don't know how to say this, but I need to try, has saved more relationships than poetry ever could. And I mean this. Third, a conversation isn't a monologue. It's a mirror. And sometimes the healing isn't in what you say. It's in what you're finally willing to hear. And last, remember this. It's not about winning. It's about reconnecting. The point of a tough conversation isn't to conquer. It's to connect. Even if you walk away still disagreeing, you've pulled the infection out into the open. And that's progress. That's all we're looking for here, folks. So, let me leave you with this. Toughest conversations you'll ever have aren't with your enemies, your parents, your boss, or your partner. They're with yourself. And when you look back in the mirror and say, I've been hiding, I've been scared, I've been apathetic, that's the conversation that unlocks everything else. So stop running, stop dodging, pick up the phone, knock on the door, sit down face to face, light up that motivation and face your reflection. Because once you do, that's when you rise. That's when you grind. And that's when you conquer. This has been Rise and Grind Radio 3.0. I'm your host, Scott of the Body. Thank you for your time. I love you all.